A lot of people ask me, why did I start Free Space? Hi, I'm Perine. I run Free Space, the free streaming podcast, over on a bunch of other channels. I host some other fun content if you love superhero movies and TV shows, other pop culture movies and TV shows here on YouTube. There's so many options that exist out there for free streaming TV. However, the why might extend past what you might think makes streaming TV so complicated in the modern era. To put it mildly, TV's in a weird spot right now. Over the last 5 years, TV's undergone different revolutions as it relates to how we watch television, how we find what we watch on television, and what we find to fill our free time. You might have grown up in a world where there's no option but to have free streaming TV. Or if you're a product of the late 1900s like I am, you grew up with a hybrid broadcast and cable model that then introduced the internet to the equation, and that just sent everything into a tailspin. You can witness the dawn and the boom of cable television throughout that early 90s to early 2000s period. There were so many channels on most extended cable packages that, as my grandpa used to say, there was a channel for everything. In large part, Old Man Marchman was correct in this assertion. There were military shows, you had Nickelodeon and Disney Channel for the young ones, Food Network back when they actually used to use more cooking tutorial shows, news channels like CNN and MSNBC, you had game show networks, home shopping networks, home box office to watch movies, as HBO as we call it now, E-entertainment to keep up with celebrity gossip that now runs the internet. There were so many options. You couldn't help but feel it. There were a peculiar set of circumstances in the Marchman household. Right around the turn of the millennium, we discovered Western's channel in our house, and it changed everything. My grandpa could watch Bonanza reruns, things like Unforgiven, Tombstone, Gene Autry, The Rifleman, and other programs all in one big block without having to change the channel. In fact, I think that our TV only really used Western's channel, the soap opera network, a favorite of my grandmother who loved soaps as well. Cartoon Network, Disney Channel, NBC, CBS, Fox, ABC, and maybe like TNT, and then I guess ESPN when there was other stuff on. Those 12 or so channels, like 12, maybe 15 channels out of hundreds by the time I got out of middle school. Finding something to watch in the early aughts was a lot different than now. You had a couple of options. You flipped through the channels and hoped to God the ether would deliver you something fun to watch. You went to go buy a TV guide at the checkout counter of a grocery store, and that would be how you got clued into what was happening that week. You could go find online listings that might tell you a little bit about what was playing. Oh yeah, eventually certain TVs would have a guide button, which is now commonplace, but at the time felt like, oh my God, it's such a moment. I can't believe we actually get to check what's on TV without having to buy a physical TV guide from the store. Rejoice. We're all poor for it. Some of the covers of those TV guides are great. Compare that kind of output on broadcast TV to the expanse of free streaming TV, and even larger, just streaming TV now. There's no contest. I imagine it would be like one of those boutique, like mini dip style pools that I assume are for drinking alcoholic beverages and cooling off more than being kiddie pools anymore, versus literally trying to cross the English Channel. There's just so much more to watch now. It's ever expanding, ever enlightening. It could be a lot to handle, I'd imagine. The idea of cable itself has changed. It was once, I guess, the default way to watch a bunch of really popular TV, and now it's just one of many options. This idea that a bunch of middle class American people could all tune into the same thing, and that basically that made it very easy for everybody to be on the same page pop culturally is something we definitely feel now. We feel that loss. All of these nebulous terms are doing some Herculean lifting, by the way. The idea of what a middle class person or what the average consumer, or average moviegoer, or average TV watcher consumes is so fluid and slippery that you can't help but notice that that might be contributing to how we got here too. I mean, what does that even mean, right? With streaming's rise, the cord-cutting movement grew even stronger. Things like YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, and a host of other things, including just social media in general, made it so it's never been harder to capture an entire audience and have them trained on one thing. In fact, those options have one big leg up on traditional streaming and cable television, and that is they're free. Hard to compete with free. that sounds simple and even like a silver bullet to all these arguments about what's wrong with streaming TV or whatever. But it's only probably part of the answer. There's a lot of layers to this one. What happens to any group when they get information at different times and part of them are made aware of things and the other part has to figure it out for themselves? Eventually, someone figures out a solution. And then once it's community founded, now everybody's using that solution or trying to figure out ways to improve on the solution we've all found and we treat as the default. Streaming works in such a similar way. Remember the era of password sharing? That was getting it done. That was a good time. Every person I knew who had graduated from school and didn't want to fork over that money to Netflix just got by on the kindness of strangers. And Netflix encouraged it. A number of folks basically swapped out their entertainment choices for free options and never returned to broadcast television, streaming, any of it. TikTok and Reels fill those holes now. I would never say nothing bad about YouTube, but I'm certainly not blameless in this whole situation we find ourselves in as well. So the big streamers are getting their lunch eaten by these smaller competitors and have only recently really just figured out a way to push back and reestablish the level of market share they used to enjoy by default. It turns out the solution for their problems was in the past. Their big fix? Fast channels. That's right. Free ad-supported television channels. Think things like Pluto, Freevee, RIP. Roku channel has a bunch of them. They're even on certain paid streamers free tiers now. Whole networks where you'll just get a programming block of something based on one of your interests. The fast channel has another secret weapon though. It mimics mid-aughts cable to what I find to be perfection. It's been nice to turn something on and just kind of vibe with it and know, even if I didn't enjoy it, it's not like it's costing me anything. That simplicity is really key. If you'll walk with me for a second. Do you remember how Twitter used to be like a while ago, like a long time ago at this point, before the longer character limit was instituted? You had to be brief and you had to be funny and you had to be quick. It's the same thing that made Vine work. You had to be fast. The economy of attention was so little that you really had to be getting to your jokes, establishing funny premises and getting them over in like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, short text stuff. Killed in those days. And those limitations on like the character limits led to some of the best posts on the platform because the limitations encouraged you to be more creative. And that simplicity allows you to do other things with your time, to not worry about, man, am I missing this thing? If I don't go trawling through all these options, what am I going to do? So that's why I always kind of push back on people who say that streaming kind of ruined everything for us, because there are positives too. There are filmmakers and creatives who made a way in this landscape to tell stories that just a dominant culture creator would never tell, or to think about a world that would be harder for a dominant culture to bring to the light or bring to people, and then more people get to see it. On a previous episode of our Free Space podcast with the wonderful Mariah E. Gates, talking about her book Cinema Her Way and her longstanding RogerEbert.com column about women filmmakers, we discussed Carol Dota topless at the Condor. It's a story of a counterculture icon from San Francisco of the previous era, pre-internet era, that achieved stardom and asked questions about authenticity, agency, and what does it mean to be a woman star in ways I felt were really, really salient right now and really interesting. And there's no way I would have ever seen it without it being available on Tubi. In fact, you know what? I'll let Mariah break it down for herself in some footage from that episode.
I mean, you know this. You have a whole show. There's so many amazing movies just available for people to watch. So many.
It's so true.
We're living in a great era for that.
It's absolutely true. And I guess, like, you know, you would never get to see some of this stuff if you didn't live in one of the big giant cities here in America before.
Yeah. Like Carol Dota, I think, played maybe 15 theaters. So if you weren't in those 15 cities, like, where are you going to see it? But now it's on Canopy, right? Or Tubi.
Tubi and Hoopla, yeah.
That level of, you know, creative digging people used to do is real too. I mean, this is before Google like self-immolated itself to chase after AI, which no one really wants anyway, right? You try and figure out, is there shady methods to find something, or is it going to play 2 states over or 1 state over? Can we organize this long road trip to go see it? And that's just hard to do. You don't have to do that anymore. There's other challenges for sure, but that's one of the positives of this whole era. Yeah, streaming is like really prickly. I try not to flatten things out too much when I talk about this stuff because there's both advantages and some real pitfalls and hurdles for people to take over when they talk about streaming and free streaming and all the whole like. Paying for 18 services is a little bit like that SpongeBob meme where you're trying to read 2 different books at once. Your attention's so split now. It's a fractured information economy on so many fronts. It's interesting stuff. It is interesting stuff. And I felt like our little show here could help. Here on the Free Space Podcast, I'll guide you through the ever-expanding world of free streaming television. I'll bring on guests who want to talk about projects, movies, TV that are near and dear to their heart and offer their expertise. And we're going to find you something great to watch on a budget. You shouldn't have to spend too much money to entertain you, your family, and your friends on your couch. So that's what Free Space is about. I take a second to thank you guys for watching this and let me introduce myself, and I hope I can be helpful. We run a newsletter over at How to Watch Free TV that gives you free recs every week, maybe 3 free recs for where to find it. Right in the email. Click right in. Start streaming. It's fun. It's a good time. I'd like to thank everybody that supported Free Space so far. It's so wild to see t-shirts and mugs, stickers, the Free Space actual physical TV guide, our fortune tellers. Every little bit helps, and that money goes to helping pay our editors, the illustrators and designers that work on our show and helped establish all this fun stuff. I like to shout out Jamie Drack over at Jamie Drack Reviews, who finally launched her YouTube channel. She had a joke moment during one of our recent episodes over at Face Hero where she said she hadn't seen the original Lilo and Stitch, and we all acted horrified. She's rectified that in her latest video. You should go give it a watch. Professor Jenna Anderson has a heater on her hands with her latest video about how comic book movies are entering their Silver Age era. And boy, howdy does Jenna know about eras. And it goes without saying, our world-traveling future OVW champion, Brandon Davis, just got to go to Epic Universe before the park opened and explore it all. And if you're into any of that, BD's got a wonderful video for that. And he's got a great video about Lost getting back together. One of those things I wish was on free streaming. It's a great TV show. So yeah, give my friends over at Face Hero a listen, a watch, whatever helps on that front as well. These guys have really been here for me as we've navigated the old independent waters. A special shout out to Eric Clements for editing this video and teaching me about video editing so we get this thing off the ground. Love to Mike Moody, our visual designer who helped design the feel and the logos for Free Space. Izzy O'Connell is our animator that did the wonderful animations that go along with all of this. Our free streaming TV guide is made by Jack Grimes and myself. We sat down to really hammer out what those old TV guides kind of felt like and offer you guys some fun perspective on what to watch. Our composer Autumn Reed handled the Free Space song that you're hearing right now. Can't thank her enough for turning a goofy napkin sketch into this wonderful music. We really appreciate that. Rizo Studio Arts in Los Angeles helped print the TV streaming guide too. Shout out to them. Our wonderful live producers are the staggeringly talented Isabel Robertson and her tag team partner from Parts Unknown, Hannah Leach. I've been Aaron Perine. This is Free Space. Welcome, cadets. And until we take off again, enjoy your free time. Catch you guys later.